The knife slipped through the lemon, and juice sprayed across the counter. That's when I saw it. Elias's phone lighting up with a message that would shatter my world. Can't wait to see you tomorrow. Husband, red heart, husband. The word felt like ice in my veins. My brain struggled to make sense of it. A typo? A joke? But my hands were already moving, unlocking his phone. No password, because he'd always said he had nothing to hide. The gallery opened, and there they were. Wedding photos. A woman in white, her hand in his, both of them smiling like they'd just promised forever. My throat closed. I couldn't breathe, couldn't think, couldn't process that 8 years of my life had just been revealed as a lie. I didn't scream or cry. I just stood there, frozen, while dinner burned on the stove and my marriage crumbled in my hands. That night, I sat in darkness, counting every lie he'd ever told me. Each one glowed like a dying star in my memory. By dawn, I'd already chosen what to wear to our last dinner together. Her name was Muriel Dostun. I found it in his phone contacts, listed under business associate. I spent the morning hunting through her social media like a detective on a mission. She lived 30 miles away in a neighborhood I'd never visited. Her Instagram was full of brunch photos, sunset pictures, and captions about love conquering everything. One photo showed her wearing a necklace I recognized, the one Elias said he'd bought for his sister's birthday. Did she know I existed? The question burned in my mind. I stared at her face, trying to understand how she fit into the puzzle of my broken marriage. My fingers hovered over the keyboard before I finally typed, "You don't know me, but I believe we're married to the same man." She read it immediately. No response came. Hours crawled by in silence. Then she posted a new story, her hand resting on someone's chest, captioned, "My forever." That's when I decided something. If lies could have ceremonies with vows and witnesses, then truth deserved a proper dinner party. But as I closed my phone, a message arrived from an unknown number. "Don't tell her yet. He's dangerous." Friday arrived wrapped in fog. I spent the day preparing like it was my last supper. The mahogany table gleamed under candlelight. Wine breathed in crystal glasses. The scent of rosemary filled the house. I'd invited them both, without explanation. Elias thought we were celebrating our anniversary. Muriel believed she was attending a business meeting about investment opportunities. Elias arrived first, kissing my cheek like nothing was wrong. 15 minutes later, the doorbell rang. When I opened it, Muriel stood there in a navy dress, clutching a leather portfolio. I led her to the dining room. The moment Elias saw her, his face transformed, panic and guilt painted across his features in shades I'd never seen before. "Sit down," I said calmly, gesturing to the table. "There's enough food for all of us. For once, let's be honest while we eat." Muriel's voice shook. "What is this? Elias?" I looked at her with something almost like pity. "Your wedding gift, dear." Before anyone could speak, a knock echoed through the house. I opened the door to find Elias's mother standing in the rain, clutching a small wooden box. "Rowena," she whispered, "we need to talk. Now." His mother looked like she'd aged 10 years overnight. Her hands trembled as she placed the box on the table between the three of us. Water dripped from her coat onto the hardwood floor. "He swore I'd never have to show you this," she said, refusing to look at her son. Inside were documents, marriage certificates, both of them legal and dated years apart. Bank statements showing money flowing from my accounts to support 2 separate households. Property deeds in my name that I'd never seen. Elias lunged forward, trying to grab the papers, but my hand slammed down first. "You stole my years, Elias. But you won't steal my clarity." Muriel pulled out one of the certificates, her face going pale. "You told me you were divorced. You showed me papers. And you believed him because it was convenient," I said softly. I stood, feeling strangely calm despite the chaos. Dinner's not over. Dessert is honesty. That's when something else slipped from the box, a birth certificate. A child's. The father's name was written clearly, Elias Lark. The silence that followed was deafening. The child was 6 years old. I did the math quickly in my head. 6 years ago, I'd been pregnant. 6 years ago, I'd miscarried at 12 weeks and spent months blaming myself, wondering what I'd done wrong. While I'd been drowning in grief, he'd been creating life with someone else. Muriel's tears began, but Elias's face twisted with rage. Don't you dare turn this on me, Rowena. You were always so cold, so distant. You pushed me away. I didn't respond. Some lies were too pathetic to dignify with answers. Instead, I turned to Muriel. He lied to both of us. But now you know exactly who you married. Then I faced Elias, my voice steady and cold. You'll wake up tomorrow and realize something's missing. Not love, power. I walked to the window, watching their reflections behind me in the glass. Neither of them knew what I knew, that this house, the one we'd supposedly bought together, was actually in my name only. My father had made sure of that years ago. They had no idea what was coming. They left separately. Muriel clutched her purse like it could protect her from the truth. Elias fumbled with his keys, avoiding my eyes completely. When the door finally closed, the house seemed to exhale with relief. Candles had burned low, their wax pooling on the white tablecloth like frozen tears. I stood alone, staring at 3 empty plates. Betrayal, I realized, didn't always come with screaming and slammed doors. Sometimes it arrived wrapped in silence. The kind that hummed beneath your ribs like an open wound. I poured wine, then watched it swirl down the drain. Numbness wasn't what I needed. I needed clarity, sharpness, focus. That night, sleep never came. Instead, I read through the documents his mother had left. Bank transfers showed a pattern, small amounts at first, then larger sums as years passed. He'd been systematic, treating my trust like his personal bank account. He hadn't just cheated on me with another woman. He'd cheated on my entire future. Before dawn, I called Lydia Corwin, my oldest friend from law school. She'd become a corporate attorney known for destroying financial criminals. Lydia, I said, I'm ready to make him regret calling me too forgiving. Her response came quickly. Rowena, before we start, you should know something. Elias tried to transfer property in your name last week, but someone stopped it. Someone stopped it? I repeated, my coffee cup frozen halfway to my lips. Who? A private firm in Chicago, Lydia explained. The documents just show initials, Yell Group. Yell. The letters hit me like a physical blow. Arthur Lark. My father's initials. But he'd been dead for 10 years, buried under an oak tree at Riverside Cemetery. Whoever they are, Lydia continued, they froze all outgoing assets under your signature. They might have just saved you from losing everything. After we hung up, I sat staring at nothing. That afternoon, I drove to my father's old law office downtown. The building had been converted to luxury apartments years ago, but I parked across the street anyway, searching the facade for answers. That's when I noticed it, faint scratches in the brick beside what used to be the entrance. Lark and Company. Still watching. My heart hammered. Coincidence? Or had my father somehow predicted this day 10 years ago? That evening, a text arrived from an unknown number. If you want to know who a Yell Group is, meet me tomorrow. 7 p.m. The place where he first proposed. The restaurant hadn't changed in 8 years. Same dim lighting, same jazz drifting through speakers, same worn leather booths. This was where Elias had knelt beside table 7, holding a ring and promising forever. I arrived early, ordering water I couldn't drink. At exactly 7, a man walked in, tall, mid-40s, with eyes that seemed to catalog everything at once. Mrs. Lark, he said, sliding into my booth. My name is Andrew Lark. My breath caught. My father was Arthur Lark. I know. He was my uncle. Andrew placed a folder between us. He started a Yell Group 20 years ago. He built financial safeguards around his family, specifically around you. I think he knew someday you'd need protection. The folder contained account statements showing trusts I'd never heard of. Money quietly accumulating for decades, hidden under corporate shells and legal protections my father had carefully constructed. Your husband's been trying to access these accounts, Andrew said. He doesn't know I exist yet. The question is, do you want me to stop him quietly or destroy him publicly? I met his eyes. Neither. I want him to destroy himself. As I left the restaurant, I noticed a car parked across the street. Engine running, lights off. Elias sat behind the wheel, watching everything. I walked past his car without looking, though my heart pounded against my ribs. At home, he was already waiting in the kitchen, pretending surprise at my late arrival. Out with Lydia again? His tone was light, but tension radiated from his shoulders. Something like that. I set my bag down carefully. He leaned against the counter, studying me like a problem he couldn't solve. You've changed, Rowena. You used to tell me everything. Maybe that was your other wife, I said quietly. He froze. Panic flashed across his face before he covered it with a smirk. You're being paranoid. I stepped closer, close enough to see fear hiding in his eyes. Tell me something, Elias. How many versions of you exist? The one who held my hand through every loss, or the one who vanished into someone else's bed while I was grieving our baby? His jaw clenched. Don't you dare. I dare, I interrupted, my voice like steel. Because I'm done being the woman who whispers her pain. He slammed his hand on the counter, but I didn't flinch. He wanted fear. I gave him nothing but calm stillness. He left minutes later, muttering about lawyers. After his car disappeared, I emailed Andrew. It's time. Let's begin the unraveling. The response came not from Andrew, but from Muriel. He's lying to you again. Meet me tomorrow. There's something you need to see. Muriel looked different the next day, no makeup, hair pulled back, exhaustion written across her face. She handed me a flash drive with trembling fingers. I found this hidden in his laptop, she said. He doesn't know I made a copy. I plugged it into my computer. Video footage appeared, Elias in a hotel room, talking to someone off camera. His voice was casual, almost amused. Rowena thinks she owns everything, but I've been moving assets for months. The Cayman account is under Muriel's name. She's too naive to notice. By the time either of them figures it out, I'll be gone. Muriel's face crumpled as we watched. I thought he loved me. He loved what we represented. I said gently. Access. Control. Money. After she left, I forwarded the video to Andrew and Lydia. Within an hour, Lydia called back, fury in her voice. This is enough for fraud charges, Rowena. We can bury him. Not yet, I replied. Let him dig deeper. Let him think he's winning. That night, Andrew sent a warning. He just tried accessing your father's trust accounts again. He's panicking. Desperate men make deadly mistakes. I sent one final dinner invitation. This time, only to Elias. The table was set again, but this time under harsh overhead lights instead of candles. I wanted him to see every detail, every truth he'd tried to bury. He arrived exactly on time. Manipulators loved control, even when walking into obvious traps. You wanted to talk? He asked with forced casualness. Yes. Foreclosure. I poured wine, watching him accept the glass without suspicion. As he drank, I pressed play on my laptop. The video Muriel had given me filled the silence. His voice, his schemes, every betrayal laid bare. His glass stopped halfway to his mouth. Where did you get that? From Muriel. Your second wife. The one you planned to rob blind. He set the glass down, his mask cracking. You think you've won, Rowena? You don't understand the game you're playing. Oh, I understand perfectly, I said. I just changed the rules. I handed him an envelope. Inside were divorce papers, asset freeze notices, and a letter from AL Group detailing every illegal transfer he'd attempted. He stared at the documents, watching his carefully built fortress crumble into sand. Without reading them, he stood and left. My phone buzzed minutes later. Andrew, he's not giving up. He just wired everything to an offshore account under the name Cora Vale. Cora Vale. The name struck me like distant thunder. I'd seen it years ago on a forgotten receipt, dismissed it as a business expense. Now I understood. Cora Vale wasn't a person. She was a phantom. Andrew called within the hour. Cora Vale doesn't exist. It's a shell identity Elias created using your credentials. So, he's laundering my own money through a ghost version of me? I said. Exactly. I sat staring out at the fog-covered city. My reflection in the window looked like someone else, calmer, harder, more dangerous. He thinks he's ahead, I murmured. But he's just writing his own ending. My phone rang again. Muriel, her voice panicked. Rowena, Elias found out I helped you. He's coming for me. I grabbed my keys and drove faster than I should have. When I arrived at Muriel's apartment building, smoke was already curling from her window. The fire alarm screamed into the night. She stood outside, shaking and covered in soot. He tried to destroy the flash drive. He said it would end everything. But I'd already made copies and hidden them in a safety deposit box. I pulled her into my car as firefighters arrived. You survived him once. Now you help me finish him. We drove in silence to a hotel downtown. Halfway there, Muriel turned to me. You still love him, don't you? I looked at her, really looked. I don't love him. I love the woman I was before him. I want her back. That night, Andrew texted. Be ready. Tomorrow we make our move. I was turning off my lamp when a shadow moved past my window. Elias stood outside in the darkness, watching my hotel room with a faint smile on his face. Morning came with rain hammering against glass. I dressed in black, not for mourning, but for war. Andrew's plan was elegant. At 9 a.m., evidence would be delivered simultaneously to Elias's investors, business partners, and local authorities. Everything, the bigamy, fraud, identity theft, would be laid bare. By noon, the news exploded. Local executive under investigation for fraud, identity theft, and domestic deception. My phone erupted with calls from people I hadn't spoken to in years. I ignored them all except Lydia. It's done, she said. He's finished. Elias called 16 times. I finally answered on the 17th. You've destroyed me, he said, his voice breaking. No, I replied softly. You destroyed yourself. I just held up the mirror. I can rebuild, he insisted desperately. I always do. Not this time, I said. Not from this. Hours later, Andrew called with panic edging his voice. He's withdrawn everything from the Cayman account. He's running Rowena. And he's not alone. Who's with him? We're still tracking it. But whoever it is has resources. This was carefully planned. I drove to our house and found it empty. His clothes were gone, his office cleared out. He'd left only furniture and a single envelope on the kitchen counter. Inside was a photograph, my father and Elias, shaking hands. On the back, in my father's handwriting, Arthur Lark and Elias Lark, business partners, 1995. Lark. The same last name. I'd never questioned it. Lots of people shared common surnames. But this photo suggested something else entirely. My phone rang. Unknown number. Mrs. Lark. A woman's voice said. We need to talk about your husband. And your father. My name is Cora Vale, and I'm very much alive. She wanted to meet at a coffee shop across town. I went, though every instinct screamed warning. Cora Vale was real, mid-50s, with eyes that had witnessed too much. She sat in the corner booth, hands wrapped around a coffee cup. Your father and Elias were partners, she said without greeting. Not just in business. In family. My throat closed. What does that mean? Elias is your half-brother. Your father had another family before he married your mother. Elias was born from that relationship. The room tilted. I gripped the table edge. That's impossible. Elias would have known. He found out 5 years ago, Cora continued. Your father told him on his deathbed, made him promise to watch over you. But Elias twisted protection into possession. She slid documents across the table, birth certificates, DNA tests, legal papers confirming the impossible truth. I'm Elias's mother, she said quietly. Arthur paid me to stay silent for decades. After he died, Elias came looking for answers. And for his inheritance. The trust, I whispered. It wasn't just for me.
No.
It was for both of you. But Elias wanted everything. I left the coffee shop in shock, driving without direction. My husband was my brother. My father had hidden another family. Every truth I'd known was built on lies. Andrew called as I sat parked by the river. Rowena, where are you? I've been trying to reach you. Did you know?
I asked.
About Elias and my father? Silence.
Then, yes.
Your father told me before he died. Made me promise not to tell you unless absolutely necessary. And when would it become necessary? My voice cracked. After how many more lies? I'm sorry, but there's more. Elias isn't running, he's planning something. We intercepted communications between him and someone named Lydia Crane. Another stranger, who knew my life better than I did. Who is she? We're investigating. But Rowena, your father's trust was funding something illegal. Something Elias discovered and tried to continue. That evening, I stood at my father's grave in the rain. What did you do, Dad? I whispered to the stone. The next morning, a package arrived with no return address. Inside was a thumb drive and a note in my father's handwriting. Rowena, if you're reading this, Elias has betrayed everything. The trust was never about money. It was about protection. I made terrible mistakes, but I tried to fix them.
The truth is on this drive.
Forgive me. I plugged the drive into my laptop with shaking hands. Video files appeared, dated years before my father's death. His face filled the screen, older and tired. Rowena, sweetheart, I owe you the truth. Elias is your half-brother. I had an affair with his mother before I met yours. When I found out about him, I tried to make it right. He paused, coughing. But I made a mistake. I told him about the trust, about your inheritance. I thought it would bring you closer. Instead, I gave him a roadmap to betrayal. The video continued with more revelations. Properties bought in secret, businesses run through shell companies, all designed to protect me from threats he never named. Lydia Crane was my attorney, he said. She helped me build the safeguards. If you're watching this, find her. She'll help you finish what I started. I found Lydia Crane's office in an unmarked building downtown. The receptionist seemed surprised anyone had found the place. Ms. Crane doesn't meet with walk-ins, she said. Tell her Arthur Lark's daughter is here. 5 minutes later, I sat across from a woman who looked like she wrestled shadows professionally. Sharp, elegant, intimidating. Your father was complicated, she said. Brilliant, but haunted. He left me a video, I said. About the trust. About Elias. Then you know most of it, but not everything. Lydia pulled out a thick file. Your father didn't just want to protect you financially. He wanted to protect you from Elias. What do you mean? Elias has a history. Before he met you, he was investigated for fraud. Your father made it disappear, paid off victims, sealed records. He thought giving Elias family and responsibility would reform him. My stomach turned. So my marriage was arranged? Not arranged. Encouraged. Your father believed love could fix what was broken in Elias. I felt sick. Everything, my entire relationship, built on my father's guilt and misguided hope. There's more, Lydia continued. The offshore accounts Elias has been accessing, they don't just hold your money. They belong to multiple people your father helped disappear. Disappear? Your father ran a network helping people escape dangerous situations. Domestic violence victims, witnesses to crimes, people who needed to vanish. He funded it through the trust. I stared, trying to process this new version of my father. Not just a lawyer, but someone who helped people disappear. Elias found out and started stealing from them. He's been draining accounts meant for their protection. The weight of his betrayal crashed over me. He hadn't just stolen from me. He'd stolen from people whose lives depended on that money. We need to find him, I said. We know where he is. The coastal house your father bought in Maine. The one nobody knows about. I stood. Then let's go. Lydia smiled grimly. I was hoping you'd say that. The drive to Maine took 6 hours. Andrew came with us, along with local authorities Lydia had contacted. The coastal house sat alone on a cliff, waves crashing against rocks below. Elias's car was parked outside. Through the windows, I could see movement, 2 figures, not one. "He's not alone," Andrew said. "I know." I'd recognized Marielle's car behind the house. We approached carefully, but Elias must have been watching. The door opened before we knocked, and he stood there looking wild and desperate. "Rowena, I knew you'd come." "It's over, Elias. The police are here. The evidence is overwhelming." He laughed bitterly. "Evidence? Your father built this empire on lies. Who's going to believe you?" "Everyone," Lydia said, stepping forward. "Because Arthur documented everything, including your fraud investigation and every illegal thing you've done since." His face crumbled. Behind him, Marielle appeared, looking confused and frightened. "He told me we were running away together," she said softly. "That we'd start over somewhere new." "He was using you," I said gently, "like he used everyone." Elias backed toward the cliff edge, wind whipping his hair. "You don't understand. I deserved that money. I was a son too. But you chose theft over family," I said, stepping closer. "Over and over again. He loved you more." Elias shouted. "Everything was always about protecting Rowena. What about me? What about what I deserved?" "You deserved a brother," I said quietly. "And I would have given you that if you'd just been honest." For a moment, something flickered across his face. Regret, maybe, or recognition of the path not taken. Then it hardened into defiance. "I won't go to prison." "You don't have a choice," Andrew said. Police moved forward, but Elias backed closer to the edge. The cliff dropped 50 feet to churning water and rocks below. "Elias, don't," I said, real fear creeping into my voice.
Please.
He looked at me one last time. "I'm sorry, Rowena. For all of it." He stepped backward, his foot finding empty air. For one frozen moment, he hung suspended. Then he fell, his scream swallowed by waves. We rushed to the edge, but there was nothing to see except foam and fury. The Coast Guard searched for 3 days. They never found a body. 2 days after the fall, I stood at my window watching the sea. A call came from an official voice. "Mrs. Lark? We recovered no body. But we found his ring inside a locked case with your initials." My initials. Something cold moved through me. Not fear, not relief. Something stranger. Unfinishedness. I walked through the house, every room carrying his ghost. On my desk, I found a file that had been slid under my door. It bore my father's handwriting. Inside, "Rowena, if you're reading this, he's deeper than you imagine. Follow the trust." Below was a single address, Westridge Foundation, New Orleans. The Westridge building was once an orphanage, now hollowed by time. I stepped inside, and the floorboards sighed as if they'd been waiting for my footsteps. A woman in her 60s greeted me. "You're late, Miss Lark. Your father said you'd come one day." She handed me a thick envelope with warning in her expression. Inside were ledgers, sealed letters, and a photograph, my father shaking hands with Elias. I almost dropped it. The woman whispered, "They built the trust together. Your father thought Elias was protecting you." I stared at the image. So my husband was my guardian, before he was my lover. As she turned to leave, the caretaker murmured, "He didn't fall, dear. He was taken." The photograph became something I couldn't stop staring at. Andrew traced the signatures on the documents. "This isn't just inheritance," he said. "It's ownership. Elias gained access to everything your father hid, offshore patents, land deeds, art collections." I whispered, "Then he never loved me. I was just a door." Andrew looked uncomfortable.
No.
"He fell for you anyway. That's what ruined his plan." Could love and manipulation coexist? Could someone deceive and adore simultaneously? I burned the photo that night. Flames consumed their faces, leaving only my father's watch in the ashes. The watch beeped twice, a hidden recorder inside clicking to life. Elias's voice filled the room. She'll never know what you did, old man. The recorder played through the night. My father's voice was frail. Elias, promise me she'll never find out about the adoption. She thinks I'm her real father.
Keep it that way.
Then Elias, calm and cruel. Of course. As long as I control the trust, she won't ask questions. The room tilted. I pressed my palms flat against the desk. My world, every root, every certainty, cracked and splintered. Adopted.
Used. Watched.
I was no one's blood, but maybe that was freedom. At dawn, I packed a suitcase. If Elias was alive, I'd find him. Not for love, for answers. A postcard slid under my hotel door. Nice to see you chasing ghosts.
E.
I boarded the midnight train, the postcard folded in my pocket like a wound. Each station blurred past, cities sleeping, my thoughts screaming. Near Baton Rouge, the conductor stopped beside me. You've got a message at the next station, ma'am. A man left it with your name. At the platform, a child handed me a note. You're almost home. Ask about the girl named Vale. I froze.
Vale.
Cora Vale, the alias, the phantom. Except maybe she'd been real all along. The whistle screamed. The train moved. I looked at my reflection in the dark window and whispered, then maybe neither have I. In the next carriage, a silhouette sat watching. Elias, alive, eyes steady, waiting for me to turn around. I didn't turn.
Not yet.
Instead, I took out my phone and sent one message to Andrew. He's alive. Car 3. Don't let him off this train. The train rattled through the night. I could feel his eyes on my back, feel the weight of everything unsaid between us. At the next station, police boarded quietly. I finally turned to face him as they approached. He smiled sadly. You always were smarter than I gave you credit for. You should have loved me instead of trying to own me, I said. I did both, he replied. That was the problem. They led him away in handcuffs. As the train pulled away from the station, I watched his figure disappear into the fog. 6 months later, I stood in my father's old office, now mine. Lydia had helped me restructure the trust, ensuring the protection network continued. Muriel had returned to her old life, wiser and more cautious. We stayed in touch. Andrew became my partner, managing the companies while maintaining the underground network. The house felt different now, lighter, despite everything. I'd removed all traces of Elias except one photo of my father, young and smiling, before complications and lies. I still didn't know all the truths about my father, about Elias, about who I really was. But I'd learned something through the fire. Truth, however painful, was better than the prettiest lie. The protection network my father built continued, helping people disappear from danger. Every month, I approved transfers that gave someone a new start, a new life, a chance to breathe without fear. Elias was serving 20 years for fraud, identity theft, and embezzlement. I visited him once, 3 months after his sentencing. Why did you do it? I asked through the glass partition. Because I wanted to matter, he said quietly.
To him. To you.
To anyone. You could have just asked, I replied. I would have shared everything. I know, he said. That's what I regret most. I left without saying goodbye. Now, standing in the office that held so many secrets, I felt something I hadn't felt in years. Peace. Not happiness, not yet, but peace. I wasn't just Arthur Lark's daughter anymore. I wasn't Elias's victim or his wife or his sister. I was Rowena, built from broken pieces into something stronger. And that was enough. The phone on my desk rang. Another person needing help, needing protection, needing the network my father had built and I now maintained. I answered, ready to begin again. They say betrayal kills love, but sometimes it just wakes it up. I lost a husband that night, but I found something far more dangerous, the truth. Elias's lies didn't just destroy a marriage. They peeled back my entire life, layer by layer, until even I didn't know who I really was. Now I look at every smile twice. Every secret feels like a mirror, and every silence feels like a warning. Because maybe the real betrayal wasn't his second wife, but the life my father built for me to never question. So tell me, if you were in my place that night, would you have served dinner or revenge? Kindly drop your thought on the comment. And don't forget to subscribe to the channel. Your next revenge story is closer than you think.